Hello, and welcome to episode number 22 of the Blue Water Running Podcast. I'm your host, Mariner, and this podcast features and celebrates the achievements of high school and collegiate cross-country and track and field athletes from the Blue Water area of Michigan. Today's episode will feature the very first guest athlete from Algonac, Junior Julian Walker. Julian recently won the first Blue Water Area Conference Cross Country League Jamboree in 17 minutes and 23 seconds on September 10th, and he also won the Skipper's Cross Country Showcase on August 30th. He ran a season record of 17:22 during his season opener at the Mariner Invitational, and recently earned a medal in the Division 3 and 4 race at the MSU Spartan Invitational on September 13th, which is one of the biggest cross-country events in the state. Julian has a career PR of 16 minutes, 48 seconds, and a season record last year of 16:51, which he ran at the MHSAA D3 state finals, finishing 52nd. We will chat about Julian's season so far, his goals and training, and we'll get to know him personally as an athlete in the Blue Water area. Welcome to the Blue Water Running Podcast, Julian.
Yeah.
You are our first guest from Algonac. I don't know if you knew that or not, but the first muskrat to jump on the pod, so I'm excited to have you.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so kudos to you. Well, let's start with a question about your training. So we are now halfway through September. It's still really hot, unfortunately. What is your training looking like? Tell us about what are your main weekly workouts, maybe if you know your mileage. Some kids track it, some don't. And then maybe a little bit about where you train the most, where you do most of your runs.
So usually, during the summer, I used to usually just ran on the road, and I usually just followed my coach's summer routine. But now, since cross country season has started, I just do cool downs because we always have meets. So I do like a 4 mile or 3 mile cool down every meet, and I just run on the road. That's really it.
Okay, now Algonac is close to Lake St. Clair, obviously. Do you guys ever do a swim workout or a workout where you just go and jump in the water afterwards?
Our team, no, but I'll go down to the river because I live relatively close to the river, so I'll just run down there and jump in by myself.
Okay. Um, well, let's talk about your goals for this season. So first, let's start with you individually. Are there any specific goals you would like to accomplish this year?
Yeah, I would like to break 17 minutes again because I did last year at States and I did I think another time last year, but I would really like to break 17 and maybe get like around 16:30 or something. I have a feeling I could get around 16:30.
Yeah, I noticed that you had your PR last year at the state meet, and there are not many runners who set their PR at MIS. So that's a big deal statistically. It doesn't happen a lot. So that's a good place to get a PR.
Yeah.
And then team goals. I know that this year the Algonac team is quite a bit larger than it has been in the past, which is really exciting to see, especially when you're a small school. So what are you guys looking to do as a team?
Yeah, for as a team, I would like to attend states because last year we didn't really go as a team, and I feel like this year, since our team's way bigger and we have some pretty good runners this year, I think it's a big possibility that we can go as a team.
Yeah. That would be exciting. I know you have your regional at Columbus, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you guys are hosting. I think Algonac is the host. So any tips that you would give anyone as far as running that course that hasn't run it before?
Yeah, don't go the wrong way. Do not go the wrong way. Follow where people are pointing. Look at the directors out there. Just make sure you don't go the wrong way. And the hill, just just push through that hill and you'll be fine.
Well, let's talk about what works really well for you to be a successful runner. So, what do you find is really important, like what you eat, your sleep, anything that works well for you when you're trying to do your best?
One odd thing that does help for me for being successful is that I have two parents that are both physical therapists, so like they kind of like educate me on like how to recover and sleep and like nutrition wise. So that really helps me a lot because I have someone on my corner that tells me what to do.
Yeah, that's a huge advantage. That's awesome. Um, do they ever talk to you about like post-race recovery, what's best for you and how to take care of your body once you're done racing?
Yeah, the only thing I really do is I'll stretch, and then the number one thing is just to eat and remember to get to sleep early because sleep is always important for recovery. That's the number one thing of how you recover.
Yep. Yeah, our kids team in Armada, they had a nutritionist come and talk to them, and she had a lot of good tips about sleep. She said sleep is great, but so is making sure you eat around 30 minutes after you run because you start getting the nutrients back that you've used and you want to rebuild your stores of nutrition. So it was good advice.
Yeah.
All right. So your coach has been coaching for a long time. So he's very knowledgeable, very experienced. What is something that he focuses on a lot or emphasizes to your team as you guys are going through practice or a season?
Yeah, Coach Schaefer and other have been extremely helpful. But a number one thing that they help with a lot is mobility work. We do a lot of hip mobility now. And they also help during races with staying on pace and how to pace throughout the race to, break that goal of yours or break that PR that you want to break. And they also are really good at formulating summer schedules because I feel like their summer schedules were perfect for me. I feel like they help, like they mixed up the workouts a lot, so I didn't overtrain or like neglect speed workouts or hills. Like it was a really great combo of everything.
Do you prefer a long distance run or do you prefer a speed workout?
Oh yeah, I hate speed workouts, but I mean they do make you faster though. But
True.
I like long runs. They're the
Okay.
best.
Gotcha. See, I was the opposite. I loved a track workout and I did not particularly enjoy
Oh
my
no.
long runs, but that's okay. You know, everyone has their preferences and what they like. So, all right. So when you talk about Algonac, especially cross country or track and field, Morgan Beadlescombe will inevitably come up in a conversation. So just this past Friday, at the MSU meet, I met Hobbs Kessler, who's an Olympic track and field athlete. He runs and trains with Morgan. And when I said, "Hey, I'm from the same area, in the same league that Morgan used to run in," he said, "Oh, Algonac, huh?" So he knows, you know, and people are aware of that connection. So I'm curious, as someone who lives in Algonac, do you hear a lot about what he did when he was a runner there, or ever feel like, oh gosh, you know, we're always living in the shadow of Morgan Beadlescombe?
Yeah, so when I first came to Algonac, I immediately noticed like Morgan's records on the leaderboard in our school, and I knew that he would be the one I try to emulate because he's a big name in the area, like what you said. And I did get to meet him one day at a meet. He was very nice and supportive. Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, it was sweet.
Does he inspire you to give you a little extra motivation to be better and competitive?
Oh yeah, of course he does. That seeing that name on the board all the time, seeing how much he beats those people by, like he's first place for like 2 minutes on that board. It's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah. And he's still dropping time even now, which is just crazy. Um, well, what do you think is the hardest part about cross country?
Well, I simply think that like the hardest part is staying consistent. Well, you like running because I'm doing cross country, but at the same time, like constantly, consistently staying up to schedule and training. Sometimes it's like too much, but staying consistent, getting those hard workouts done when you don't feel like doing it is the best days. So, yeah.
So let's flip it around and ask what is the best thing about cross country?
The best thing is probably breaking like my previous records and my times because knowing that pushing myself and training like actually pays off, that's a really good feeling. Yeah.
So I've noticed at some of the smaller meets or invitationals this year, you like to get to the front and lead. Do you prefer to run in front alone, or would you rather have somebody in front of you to pace off of?
It depends what type of meat it is, because like sometimes if it's like a big meat, like I like to pace with someone that's faster than me, because like that gets me like a good time. But if it's like a BWAC, I like being out in front because I like just the ambience and I like how calm it is, because I don't like constantly hearing people breathe and all that 'cause behind me. Like, yeah, it's like too much. Like I just want like the calmness, you know?
Right. It's funny that you said that. That is one reason that when AirPods were invented It totally changed my 5K race game because I had a really hard time running a 5K. And that was, long after I was an athlete in school. But for the breathing, it really bugged me when I would hear
Yeah.
other people breathe. So with music on, you can't hear it. So
Yeah, because like when you're hearing people breathe, it's like, am I breathing too fast? Are they breathing? Like, I don't know. I feel like it messes your breathing up, you
well,
know?
and if you don't like the sound of it too, which
Yeah.
happens to be my case, but in some races, it's inevitable you're going to hear people breathing. So, um, I was going to ask you about the MSU Spartan Invitational. So my son ran there as well. He ran the collegiate race, so he was doing an 8K, but he said that the course was a lot more hilly than he had expected, and there was a lot of mud. Did you have that experience for yourself? Was it hilly and muddy?
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like a smooth course, but it seems like every year, like it just the hills, like I don't know, it seems like it's not so hilly, but they get to eventually because it's like slow, gradual hills, so it adds up eventually. And yeah, there's like a straightaway somewhere where there's like mud, and yeah, I did not like that. I did not know that was gonna be there. It did not help at all.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that because I didn't see the mud, but he came back and he had really muddy legs. And I'm thinking, gosh, it hasn't rained in like weeks. So how is it muddy? But he said it was pretty bad. So I was
Yeah.
curious if the high school race was the same. Okay. All right. So let's ask you a few of your favorites, you as a person. So, what is your favorite cross country or track race or meet? Or if you have one for each, you could tell me that too.
So my favorite meet ever was probably when I was a freshman at Goodall's. I ran a great race. I ran sub 17. So that was great. I think that's my all-time PR, and yeah, I really like the layout and the flow of that course. I think it was great. And I also really liked, I mean, I liked the MSU race even though it was muddy because I just liked like I was running on the campus kind of like I was running on the golf course. I feel like that was kind of cool. And getting that I got top 30 I think that medal was pretty sweet. I like that course and I like that meet that we just had. I think it was sweet.
Yeah. Did you realize that you were 13th place on the 13th, Friday the 13th?
Oh, they really?
Yeah. Yeah,
What?
I put that in my race recap. I'm like, oh, that was a good number for the date. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. 13 is my favorite number, so that's why I noticed it. It's just I've always had a little extra special love for the number 13. So,
Yeah.
all right. What is your favorite food, either pre or post workout? Just something you like to eat that's, your go-to.
I like to have like steak and potatoes, so I'd say like Texas Roadhouse is like the best restaurant to go to after a race. I love just like gathering my family and just going out to dinner after. It's great.
Yeah, that's good. Um, Favorite TV show, movie, music? You could give one, all three. It's up to you.
This is gonna sound like kind of like nerdy, but I like Interstellar because like I love how it's like science fiction and I love anything related to space because the movie relates to like the theory of relativity with like Einstein's theory and I like that. I like how they put like scientific like it, I don't know, I just like it. I like space.
That's not nerdy at all. That's intelligent. And my kids all love that movie, so we've seen it quite a
Oh
few times
yeah,
here too.
it's awesome.
Um, yeah. All right. So do you have a favorite kind of music you like?
Yeah, I like older 90s music like Alice in Chains. Alice in
Oh,
Chains is awesome.
you're speaking my language. That's when I was in high school.
Yeah,
Those
I
are
love
like
the Chains.
oldies now. That's funny. Um,
Yeah.
all right. Are you a reader? And I'm not making any judgments. And if you are, have you read a favorite book?
No, I'm not really a reader, but I do read scripture. I
Okay.
love to learn the word of God because that's how you lead your life, you know? Because I'm a heavy Christian, I'm a Lutheran, so I love reading the word of God. It teaches me how to live my life, and just following in God's words is the best thing you can possibly do.
Agreed. Good advice. A lot of other books and literary references come from the Bible, even though they're not faith related. They use a lot of things that have come from the Bible. It's a very historical document too, so you can read it for education and faith. All right. Do you have a favorite professional athlete? It doesn't have to be a runner. It can, but could be anybody you like to follow.
I like to watch UFC. So my favorite probably UFC fighter is Conor McGregor. He's my favorite athlete. He's very inspirational. I like the confidence and he also he makes up for it. He wins the fights, you know? He's great. He's
Yeah,
really yeah.
he's a little scary too. I'm gonna be
Oh yeah.
honest. He's
Yeah, now
pretty,
he is.
yeah, he's pretty intense. And I think wasn't he just in a movie? Was he in the new Roadhouse
Yeah.
movie? Okay,
Yeah.
have you seen that?
Yeah, I forget. I watched it some time ago, The
Okay.
Roadhouse. Who else is in there? Who other
Um,
actors are in there?
Jake Gyllenhaal is in that.
Yeah, he
He's
fights him at the end. I remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So that's a remake of a movie that came out when I was a kid, and the original had Patrick Swayze in it. And I don't know if you know who Patrick Swayze is, but he was a big star when I was a teenager. So, all right. Well, if you could go for a run anywhere in the world, where would it be?
So I would like to run across like I think it's like the Bosphorus line. It's in between like Turkey and it's like you can run across Europe and Asia. You run on one side Europe and then you run across to Asia because like Turkey has a border between Asia and Europe and they have like a I think it's like an annual marathon every year over there in Istanbul. I would love to run that.
Wow, I have never heard of that. That sounds amazing. How
Yeah.
did you find out about that?
My dad, he's like into history and stuff, and he's always talking about like going places, running, and I'm
Okay.
like, dang, that sounds sweet. I would like to go there.
That does. That does sound cool. Okay, so this was not a question that I sent you, but I'm just curious if you have anyone on the top of your mind that if you could invite to go for a run and they could run with you, who would you love to talk to? And then they can be living or from the past and no longer living.
Oh, I want to run with David Goggins.
Well, is that the guy you gave me the quote from?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, tell me why.
because he's like he's super inspirational. He can push himself to the limits. He'll push me. I just want to see how hard I can go because I know he can go really hard. He's like the toughest man on earth. See how far I can go. It'll be awesome.
Well, Julian, it sounds like you like to test your limits. You want to see what's going to happen this season. So, as you keep trying new things and meeting new challenges, I wish you the best. I'm excited to see what happens. You're not even a senior yet. So, got this
Yeah.
season and another one to go. So, lots of exciting things to come. And thank you for joining me on today's podcast.
Yeah, thank you. This
You're
is
welcome.
awesome.
I'll leave you with this quote by David Goggins, a retired Navy SEAL and the only member of the U.S. Armed Forces to complete SEAL training, Army Ranger School, and Air Force Tactical Air Controller training. According to his website, Goggins has completed more than 70 ultra-distance races, often placing in the top 5, and is a former Guinness World Record holder for completing 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours. A sought-after public speaker, he's traveled the world sharing his philosophy on how to master the mind. When he's not speaking, he works as an advanced emergency technician in an emergency room and during the summer as a wildland firefighter in British Columbia. When you think that you are done, you're only 40% into what your body is capable of doing. Once again, thank you so much for tuning into today's Blue Water Running Podcast. I can't wait to feature more cross-country and track and field athletes from the Blue Water area, so stay tuned because it just might be you. Coverage on Blue Water Running is sponsored in part by Elite Feet of Port Huron. If you need running shoes, spikes, or apparel, they have a friendly and knowledgeable staff to help you find the right fit, and they're big fans of running too. They are located at 327 Huron Ave in downtown Port Huron. If you are interested in sponsoring coverage or advertising as a partner with Blue Water Running to reach and support local runners, please reach out via our website, show notes, or social media channels. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please share, subscribe, and leave a review. You can find the Blue Water Running Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and other major media players. You can also ask your smart speaker to play the Blue Water Running Podcast. If you have an idea for a great topic or guest you'd like to hear about, feel free to contact me through the website links or show notes. You can follow Blue Water Running on Instagram, X, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. You can also find meet and athlete reports and articles at www.bluewaterrunning.org.